in our midst. Like I said yesterday, we are going to bend Hope Uzodimma like crayfish. Now, the 12 million people and some areas such as Owerri and those inhabited by the Anangs. Those inhabited by the Anangs. Do you know what is Anangs? Do you know the tribe called Anangs? These people called Anangs were one of the most the densely populated places in West Africa. A place called Anangs. The Oka region was suffered from soil erosion. Oka region. The Oka, where is Oka? In Anambra State. When I am telling you these cities, there is no coronation to like Anambra State. There were no coronation like Imo State. They are telling you the history, and these cities were being mentioned because there were nothing like division. There were no state coronation. It is only city, city, and city. The region had three types of vegetation. The coastal area in the south is dominated by mangrove swamp, and tidal waterways. Further north of the swamp is the tropical rainforest. However, over a period of time, many of leafy trees of the forest were cleared for planting. This is the history of Biafra, the history of Eastern region, which is what you know today as South-South and Southeast. They were cleared for planting palm trees. In the northernmost part of the region, it is the Guinea Savannah. Major rivers of the region include River of Niger Delta. River of Niger Delta system, such as Kwai-Boe. You people know the river called Kwai-Boe. Cross River, Orashi River, and Imo River. Obudu Plateau in the northern eastern area, the Urban and the Ikom Hills along the eastern boundary with Cameroon were a few of the highlights in the region. Do you see? All the things that I'm mentioning now were within the eastern region that made up Biafra. Do you hear Delta State here? You from Delta State today, do you hear Delta State? You don't hear Delta State. Do you hear Enugu State? You don't hear Enugu State. Do you hear River State? You don't hear River State. Do you hear Cross River State? You don't hear Cross River State. Do you hear Anambra? You don't hear Anambra. Do you hear Ebonyi State? Do you hear Abia State? Do you hear Imo State? Do you hear all these things that they divided? You can't hear them. And this is the back to root. This is the root of Biafra. And this is the root of Biafra. Those of you who are born yesterday, you ignorantly come and start talking in public. Ignorantly. And you are dancing the music, the drum that is being played by Fulani Caliphate. You are dancing and dancing without shame. When we talk about Biafra, you will say, oh, that is not Biafra. When we talk, you say, Ijos, I cannot be Biafra. When we talk, you say this, Ibibo. Do you know the role played by, what is the king called? King Jaja of Opopo? Do you think King Jaja of Opopo will call himself or his kingdom that he belonged to Fulani? Do you know the history of King Jaja of Opopo? You don't know. Even that King Jaja of Opobo, you should have read it in your schools, your secondary schools. But Nigeria don't care. You have fallen victim. Not only that you fall victim, you made yourself a victim. You made yourself a victim because you refuse to learn and you don't have shame to come publicly to start shouting that Delta State is not Biafra. Delta State is not Biafra. Who told you that Delta State is not Biafra? When was Delta State created? Is Delta State older than Eastern region? We are going back to the roots. We are going back to our root, and that is why we are changing the narrative of yesterday. After watching this video, you from Delta State, you continue to ignorantly shout, Biafra, Delta, Biafra is not, Delta is not Biafra. Then you need serious help. Because what I am telling you today is not a propaganda. What I am telling you today, whatever that comes out of this my mouth, I cannot tread and live on propaganda. Those who live by propaganda shall die by propaganda. Whatever that comes out of this mouth is truth without any dilution. Truth, pure truth, fact. Not only that the fact is hidden, the fact is publicly available. Now, since you have known that the Biafra we are shouting about today comprises of all Ijos, all Ibibios. So Delta State is not even being recognized here. Because nobody knows that what made up Delta State. Delta State is not even in this history. Because they just created you yesterday, and you are talking. Even when the people, when Ijo Nation, Ibibio, and all these people are talking, you will come and start making noise. You are not Biafra. Who told you? What do you know about Biafra? This is the history of Biafra. Now, let me also tell you a little bit about the colonial rule. A little bit, because I just bring my time today. This time that I should have used to remote control Brutai and his terrorist group, and to remote control the presidency like we have been doing it, I will use it now to come and begin to talk sense on you, because this is what they have done and planned for many years. So that by the time we come back to begin to agitate for Biafra, we will find it difficult. We have to first of all invest our time and talk to you to know that your history is this. Now listen to colonial rule. I did not write it. This is something that is fact. No propaganda, no lies like Nigeria government. This is the history of you. In 1849, John B. Croft, the governor of Fernando Po, became the British consul agent for the Bites of Benin and Biafra. Did you hear that? This man called John B. Croft, the governor of Fernando Po, become the British consul agent for the Bight of Benin and Biafra. You see, this whole story have now transited from Eastern Nigeria to what you know as Biafra, the Bight of Benin and Biafra. Now, B. Croft was chosen to be in charge of regulating the trade at the port of Old and New Calabar. At the port of Old and New Calabar, and those at Benin. Old and New Calabar and those at Benin. And this is part of bite of Biafra. Now, Boni, Bimbia, and the Cameroons between the residents and British merchant firm. The increase in trade within the ports led to the drive of several European firms. To build trading posts at Onitsha. You see, when all this story is being told, you are not hearing state because there was nothing like state. It is called Biafra or Eastern region of Nigeria. Now, in the trading in Onitsha, in 1879, most of the firm merged to form the United African Company. You hear that? The United African Company. And we are given a charter to manage a coastal protectorate in 1885. Now, in 1884, the headquarters of the British agent for the bites of Benin and Biafra was moved from Fernando Po to Calabar. And in 1889, the Oil River Protectorate, later known as the Niger Coast Protectorate, was established. The Southern Nigeria Protectorate was formed in 1900, and by 1914, British colonial rule had established most of the administrative divisions in the Southern Nigeria Protectorate. In 1939, the Southern Province was divided into the Western and Eastern Province. Did you see that? The Western and Eastern Province. And where are the Western Province? From this Benin to Yoruba. And where is the Eastern Province? From we, the Biafras, today. During the war period, the provinces were given more power to shortage of personnel. Due to shortage of personnel, historically, residents of Eastern Nigeria had an individualistic and democratic culture. This is, you see, historically, when they say, like when Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, the biggest leader of the struggle of Biafra alive today, Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, when he made a video, when he broadcast and was telling you people that democracy started in Biafra, that Biafra started democracy, you think it was just a joke. Listen to this. Historically, residents of Eastern Nigeria had an individualistic and democratic culture. Historically, individualistic and historical and democratic culture. To establish indirect rule within the administrative division, the British began a tendency to strengthen the powers of the traditional village head beyond their traditional pre-colonial duties. Along with the British trade, Christian missionaries also established mission bases in the region. In 1846, Revered Hope Master Weddell formed a branch of the Church of Scotland Mission. Ajayi Kota of CMS established a Niger division at Onitsha, and soon followed by the Catholic Church. So, what are we talking about? When we talk about Biafra, you think Biafra is just Igbo. It's just Igbo thing. Who told you that Biafra is just Igbo thing? Every Igbo man is a Biafran, but not every Biafran is Igbo man. When we are talking about Biafra, you are looking at what these Fulani people did just in less than 50 years or less than 40 years ago. How old is Delta State? How old is River State? River State that was even in the River State should be the oldest. And it's part of Biafra. So my people from the Niger Delta, as we call it today, did you hear this history? Can you now see that a lot of you are ignorant? And it is that, and listen, when I say ignorant, it is not insult. I am not insulting anybody. Ignorant is an English language used to describe somebody who lack knowledge of something. So when I say you are ignorant, it is not insult. Because a lot of you don't even understand most of these words. And you say, oh, that